Thank you everyone for coming today. I'm going to be talking about how I've created some of these 3 and 4 part classical arrangements where I have a master score and individual parts, and I'm going to go through the process of how I do that. And on my TuneBook website, and I'll post a link to this in the video description, there is a bunch of these websites that I created that show this. So for example, here is a Michael Pretorius is a Renaissance recorder ensemble. It's orchestrated for soprano, alto, tenor, and bass recorder. If you play it, it gets the recorder sounds. That way it's not jumping around. And then in addition to that, I have each of the individual parts. So here's the soprano part. And then each of the individual parts, and then, so eventually there's the bass part. And then there are versions of this that have the entire score, the master score, but I've muted the individual instruments so that you can play along. And when I was a kid, I was a classical flute player up through college, and there used to be these albums that you could buy, and I think they're probably still available, maybe in digital form now, called Music -1. And the way it worked is you got this album, was an LP, and then on one side was the entire, let's say, Mozart flute concerto, and it came with the music. It came with the flute part as sheet music, and then on the back side would be the same recording but without the solo flute. And so what I'm doing in here is I can actually recreate that experience where I have the entire score, but I've actually muted the soprano recorder, for example, in this case, so you could play along yourself. So, and then you can do it for each of the instruments. So I'm going to actually walk through the creation of one of these websites and how I actually put the ABC together to do that using the features in the tool. We'll just look at one other example here. This is, let's see. Okay, so here's another Bach piece. Play. This is the master score. And again, we have the individual parts. So here's the alto 1 part, alto 2 part, and so on. And then we get the music -1. So I'm going to actually go down to alto 2 because it starts the piece. So now you hear there won't be the alto 2 playing. And the beauty of this is that not only can you play along with the piece in this way, but because the tool's player has this thing built in called the tune trainer, if I wanted to practice this at a slower speed, so for example, if that was too fast and I actually wanted to practice it, let's say at 70% speed, the tune trainer will let you do that. And so you can actually play your part along with the rest of the ensemble at a slow speed. So there's something very appealing about doing these Music -1 arrangements. So I'm going to walk through the process by which I put these together. And this is not, this is going to be a technical presentation. This is to show what's possible with the combination of a third-party tool that I use as well as my tool. But the key being is that while it's technical, I want you to see that the workflow is not difficult. In other words, yes, you need to be knowledgeable about ABC to do this. And this is probably something more for someone who's really comfortable working with ABC arrangements. But the idea is to show that, like, if you're actually interested in creating something like this, it's not hard. It's really not hard. And part of it is to communicate kind of the state of technology in terms of things like recognition of music from things like PDFs, to be able to extract out the music from that in a way that you can actually manipulate it. So for this example, I'm going to show you, I'm going to start with a PDF of a Bach, of this rather popular Bach concerto in D minor. I believe this is originally for violin. And I'm going to just zoom this up a little bit. You can see, you probably recognize this. Most people recognize this piece, at least you will when I start playing it. And I'm going to start with this actual PDF. So we don't have a MIDI file. We don't have any kind of a representation of this as music. What we have is this PDF file, essentially a printed piece of paper. And we want to figure out a way to turn this into something that we can actually play. And to do that, I'm going to use it's actually an iOS app. It's an iPhone app. It runs on the iPhone and an iPad. There is a version of it for Android. And there are other tools that do this, but I use a very specific one. And I am on a Mac. I'm on an M1 Mac. And M1 Macs, any of the M-class Macs, can run iPad apps. And a lot of people don't know that. If you have a Mac, modern Macintosh, you can actually run a lot of the iPad apps. And so I'm actually going to be running the iPad version of an app that's called PlayScore 2. And PlayScore 2, let me just find it here on the App Store. PlayScore 2 is a program that you can literally take a picture of a piece of music with the camera on your phone, or you can bring in a PDF file, and it can be a complete orchestral score, and it will actually recognize all of the notes, the clefs, the time signatures, the key signatures, and all that. And it's able to then play it, or what I'm interested in is it's able to export it into a form that my tool can read. And this particular form is called MusicXML. And it's just a standard exchange format for scores between different music tools. So if you're used to using something like Finale or MuseScore, all of these tools can generally import and export this MusicXML format. So you can exchange scores between different tools. So again, the purpose of PlayScore 2 is to take that PDF and to turn it into something that my tool can read. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to launch PlayScore 2, and I'm sorry that it's kind of small. They don't have a way to make it bigger, but I'm going to open up that same PDF of that Bach concerto. And it shows it, and it shows which pages in the score you want. So I'm going to do the entire thing, which is 10 pages long. And I just click done. I know it's small. And what it's done, the little bar went across there, and what it's done is it's actually recognized all the notes and everything in the music here. And you can actually play it from inside PlayScore. You can, just to see if it got it sort of right. And if you get PlayScore 2 and you, so a couple things about PlayScore 2 is that you can get it and you can use it and do this kind of thing where you can just sort of play off a sheet of music. I forget if it's free or very inexpensive, but if you wanted to be able to export the output of this to MusicXML, then you actually have to pay for it. And it's a subscription app. It's not mine. I'm not getting money from this. But it's something like, if you want to use it for a month, it's like $6 or $7, and for a year, it's about $45, something like that. So I just bought the yearly thing. I have not found a better tool for doing this kind of thing. You can literally take your phone and, find a music book, Fiddler's Fake Book, and take a picture of it and have it generate something that my tool can open. So once we've actually, it's already done the recognition, and I can save this now. I can export this, share as MusicXML. I just click save. And I wish there was a way to make that bigger, but there isn't. And I'm just going to save it as this XML file. And now if I go into my tool, I can open that XML file. So here it is, JS Bach Concerto in D minor. And you can see that we now have the sheet music in the tool. And if I just play this without doing anything else, we'll hear if it got even something vaguely right. Let's see. It's a bit slow. So if there's no tempo if they don't find a tempo mark in the tune, then I just put a kind of a default of 100. But we're going to speed this up a little bit here. We're going to say the tempo, and the Q tag is the one that's used for tempo, and I'm going to make it quite a bit faster here. Let's see what we get. Okay, so you can see it's pretty much got it right. Now, at this point, what do I have? I have the tune, I have the arrangement, this trio in, and at this point, what I'm going to be doing next is primarily going to be about orchestrating this to be the sounds that I want and the speeds I want. And then once I have that right, then I'm going to break it down into the parts, and the tool's going to do a lot of that work for me. So the first thing is I want this to be with a recorder ensemble. Now, to make things simpler for myself, I've already saved off a little header here that has the instruments, and I'll walk through what it has in it. So if you look, this is when I was talking about the MIDI programs. This is a thing that just basically sets up the reverb settings, gives the voices the names that I want them for. In other words, right here, if you look in here, it just has part 1, part 2, part 3 in the names. I wanted to say alto recorder, and I wanted to play with a alto recorder sound, and I wanted to say tenor recorder and play with tenor recorder sound, and I wanted to play with bass recorder. So generally I keep these around. If I'm doing a bunch of common arrangements, I'll just kind of use this as a template. So I'll just kind of grab some text here that sets up all the instruments for this, and I'm just going to paste it here. And all that's going to do is it's just going to mostly just change the labels that are going to be on the staffs, as well as the instruments that get played. And the other thing too is I'm going to go ahead and put a composer in here. We'll just say JS Bach. And if I'm working with something from a third party, I'll generally put them in. Put the composer in, and then I'll put some attribution in. Because a lot of times if you're working with a PDF, the original, so for example, in this case, is there a person whose name is on this? Okay, so it's R.K. Deverish. We're going to want to make sure to give him credit, assuming that it's a he, and I'll just say, I can put an attribution, and oops. Let's see, we'll actually use it as, we'll use the R. And so we'll just make sure his name's on it as well. Okay, so what do we have now? We have a 3-part, again, we started with a PDF, and we ran it through PlayScore 2. PlayScore 2 extracted the notes and generated a MusicXML file. That MusicXML file I then opened from within the tool, and that gave us all the sheet music. And now we're just kind of like doing the fit and finish, putting the frosting on the cake, making it look nice, get the right instruments, and sound the way we want. And by adding the reverb and the instruments, now when I play this, it's going to be quite different. So we got the complete experience going on here now. We have the recorders. These are recorder samples that I put together a couple of weeks ago from an open source library of sounds that are for Renaissance and Baroque music. It's an amazing collection. And so I have soprano, alto, tenor, and bass recorders, actually down to contrabass. If you wanted to change that to a soprano recorder sound for that top part, just change it. And so on. It's very easy to play around with the instruments just by changing the numbers that are on these programs. And if you want to know what the numbers should be, at the very top of the tool, there's a button that says MIDI. You click on that and it gives you a list of all of the possible instruments that are available in the tool for each of the, there's actually 7 complete sets of these. They're called sound fonts. But each one of those has all of these instruments in it. So like I say, there's like 7 harps and 7 flutes and 7 violins and that sort of thing. So it's very, you can look up the number here. If we wanted to have the top part be violin, it would be 40. We could just stick a 40 in here instead of 144, and we would get a violin on the top. As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave this 144 just so we don't have to wait for it. I'm going to put it on the second line since that plays earlier. And you'll see we get this violin now for that second voice. Kind of hard to hear, kind of hard to hear it over the bass, but basically the idea is you can just change out the instruments quite easily. I'll make this back to recorder. Okay, so at this point, what I have is I've got a 3-voice arrangement of this of Bach Concerto in D minor. Let's see, I picked the key as F. I'm going to change that to D minor just for the sake of completeness. And probably a good idea at this point to save it. We don't want to lose our work, so we're just going to save it. Click Save, and now we make sure if we screw something up, we have something to go back to. All right, so next step is I want to be able to create those individual parts. And that is really easy. All you have to do, if you have the entire tune up, is you can go down to the what I call the hamburger menu, and there's an item there that says Split Voices, and it's done. And what it's done is it's created 3 new tunes below, added them to the so here is the alto part, and then the tenor part, and then the bass part. And if we actually go into the player, the way the player works is it puts all the tunes up, and you can kind of switch between them here by clicking these arrows, or you can pick them from the drop down. So here's like the full score, here's the alto part, here's the tenor part, here's the bass part. Okay, and probably a good idea at this point to save it. And don't worry, even though it has the same name, the browser will append a number to it. So this will be like Bach Concerto in D minor 2, and then it'll be Bach Concerto in D minor 3. It doesn't overwrite what you've saved before. It just creates it. You can see over here it says D minor and then it has a little 1. So we want to save, and it's probably a good idea to just save your work while you're going along. Okay, so now we have the 3 parts. And usually what I do is, just for clarity's sake, is I'll go in and I'll just relabel these. So I know this is the alto one, so I'll just change that to alto recorder. And I'll go down to the next one and we'll change that to tenor recorder. There's just the title that shows up on the top. Because ultimately this is going to go onto a website where the top is going to have the name, and then we'll say bass recorder. Okay. So now if I were to open up the player, we'll start from the top. You'll see like the first one is the full score, and we have alto recorder, tenor recorder. And I can play these. Okay. And then finally the bass recorder. Okay, so all that's left to do at this point is to create the music -1 versions, and that is really, really easy. And the way you do that is you grab the entire original score, and this is a manual process, but it couldn't be simpler. You grab the entire original score and you copy it. So I'm just going to copy it, and I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom, and I'm going to paste it. And that's going to put an extra copy of the tune at the bottom. And then I'm going to go back to the header here. So this is the very last instance, the one we just pasted. And I'm going to change this title here to Music -1 Alto Recorder. And to make that actually happen, all I have to do is change that Alto Recorder program 145. And again, that comes from, if you look here in this MIDI spec, right in here, this is the list of the instruments. So 145 is Alto Recorder. There is one instrument that's just called mute, and I'll just change that 145 to mute. And now what we have is a version of that score that when it plays, the Alto Recorder will be muted. And I'm going to go ahead and I think probably save it at this point, just to be safe. I'm going to copy this whole thing again, paste it, go back to the header, and I'm going to change this now to tenor recorder. And I'm going to put the program back for the Alto Recorder, so the Alto Recorder will play, and I'll change the tenor recorder to mute. Okay, and if I play this now, you'll hear that we do get that. You'll hear just the bass recorder at the beginning. And the Alto Recorder comes in. We've muted the tenor recorder in this case. And it'd be helpful if I spelled it correctly, tenor. Okay, and then finally we just have to do one more, which is the bass recorder. So we get the bass, copy the whole thing again. And again, the key here is to show you, just you can see how quickly this whole thing goes once you have the workflow figured out. It actually happens quite quickly. So we'll put the tenor recorder instrument back. We'll change the bass recorder to mute. I'm going to delete this one line here because I don't need to transpose something that isn't playing. And I'm going to save it. Oh, I should change this to bass recorder, Music -1 bass recorder. I'm going to save it just to be safe. And now if we play this one, you'll hear just the tenor at the beginning. So the bass recorder is now muted. The Alto Recorder will play when it comes in. So we now have all 7 of the versions. We have the original, the full score. We have the Alto Recorder, the tenor recorder, the bass recorder, Music -1 Alto Recorder, Music -1 tenor recorder, Music -1 bass recorder. And just for simple sake, I'm going to change this to say master score. And I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, so the question is now we want to do something with this. We want to publish this to a website. So it'll be another one of those examples like I showed you with the Michael Pretorius. And to do that, we're just going to go to Export Website. And I've had a couple of options added yesterday. We're going to click on Export Full Feature TuneBook Website. And we're just going to start to change things here. So the website title is going to be JS Bach, a concerto in D minor. We'll say click any score, play it. And let's see, this sets the title, the subtitle, a footer at the bottom, the color I want in the background. All of this is detailed in the user guide. If you click the little arrow, little question mark in the corner, take you to that section of the user guide that explains in detail every single one of these fields. And I'm going to make it so that it goes, instead of green, I'm going to have a dark blue to black. This is just the background color. That's going to be a little gradient. And I'm going to have it so it puts, so the tunes will open in the player, and that's all. I'm just going to click OK, and we'll call this JS Bach Concerto D minor. OK, and we're done. Now I can open this website And you can see, here's the master score. I can play it. Or I can go to any of the parts. Here's Space Recorder. And here's, let's say, Music -1 tenor recorder. And literally, you can take, this is just there's one file that gets generated by the website generator. That's just that one HTML file that contains everything that's required to render this. And you could put that on a website, or you could just leave it on your computer and double click it to run it anytime you want. It's kind of like it's like a standalone thing, kind of like a PDF file. It doesn't require any other things, and there's no resources. Everything's in the one file. The other thing that's nice is from this view, if you wanted to print out these parts, so it's one thing to try to do the Music -1 while you're reading off the screen, but because it scrolls and all that. Some people would prefer to have the physical parts. You can actually, if you bring up any of the parts here and you close the player, you can click the little PDF icon in the corner, and it will generate a PDF file for you of that part that you could print out. And so we'll just look here. It'll give you the PDFs. There's the PDF of the part. If you want to just print that out, put it on your music stand and read off of it instead of off the screen. It's very easy to do that from here. If you want to get back into the player, you can just click the play button. It takes you back into the player. And again, you can run the tune trainer from here. If you wanted to play slowly, for example, you wanted to do the full score and you wanted to do the trainer and you wanted to start at, let's say, 80%, you can do that. So you can see like that whole process, even with me explaining it, took about 5 minutes from a PDF file to a final website with master score, individual parts, Music -1 for each of the instruments. And I didn't have to do any kind of programming or coding except for the pasting in the instruments. And that's even kind of optional if you don't mind using the default sounds. I wanted to have the recorder sound specifically, so I just copied and pasted from a previous one I had done. And that's probably a good idea if you're doing instruments of a certain kind. You might want to keep around the little header for like SATB recorder, or for, in this case, a trio of recorders. I'm going to go through the whole process again with a different tune. But I want to show you kind of, so like the question is, well, where did I get, and I should probably save the final result here. The question is like, where do you find these PDFs? And if you already are using other tools like MuseScore, they let you save a PDF often if you're a subscriber to MuseScore, or you can save PDF of music. But there are so many resources on the internet now where you can get open source, Creative Commons, stuff that you can actually use with attribution. And I've been pulling a lot of things from this guy, R.D. Tennent. And this is on this site called IMSLP. And this is an amazing site, collection of classical tunes, thousands and thousands of arrangements. But this guy, R.D. Tennent, he's also a programmer, but he has done hundreds of arrangements for SATB recorder. So, you're interested in the Brandenburg Concerto No. 1, and you want to see the sheet music for it. He's got some version of it here. I'm just going to scroll down until I find his version of it. So here's the complete score, and this is raw material for my tool, So I've been having a lot of fun. I've contacted him and made sure he was okay with the kind of stuff that I was doing, just to, I want to make sure to get the attribution right. But there's just so many so many of his arrangements that are available. Let me just go back to find him again. So like you can see, he's got 317 arrangements, and I'm going to find one of them that I thought was kind of nice. He had the Ukrainian national anthem as for recorders, and I'll just find his version of it here for recorders. There's the score, Ukrainian national anthem, and it's not very long. It's only 2 pages. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to download that PDF file. And I'll just save it here, and we'll just call it Ukrainian National Anthem Tennent. Okay. And I'll go ahead and close this. And I'll open up that PDF file now. So here we are. This is just in Adobe Acrobat. You can see it's just a PDF with the notes. And now we want to, well, I'll go through the exact same process I did with the Bach concerto. So again, I'm going to open up PlayScore 2. I'm going to open up that PDF file. It's already done the, it's asking me which pages. It's just 2 pages, so I say done. It's already done the recognition. We could play it from here. I'll go ahead and save it as MusicXML. Go ahead and close PlayScore 2, close Acrobat, and now I will open up the file I created, which is this one here. We have all of the parts already in. Let's see, let's play it. It might be a little fast. Let's get this a little tighter. I'm gonna make the speed a little slower, so I'm gonna change this Q tag from 100 to, let's say, 78 or 75 maybe. And so now let's see what the speed sounds like. That sounds a little more like a national anthem. And let's go ahead and give him credit. So we'll say, we'll just put him on here. We'll say arranged by R.D. Tennent. And now I want to, I'm going to bring in one of my little templates that I've saved before for Recorder Quartet. So I'm going to just bring up this little record template. And all it does is, again, this is just having the instruments and the programs so that I don't have to type it all in by hand. And we're just going to replace this part here, which is generic, with the stuff for the recorders, and you can see all these change to say soprano, alto, tenor, bass recorder. Now I'll play it. Okay. And the next step is to, I'm going to save it because we're making some good progress. And I'm going to split the voices. So now if we go down below, we'll see there are additional tunes added. We'll change the title of the first one to Soprano Recorder. Second one to Alto Recorder. Let's see, this will be tenor recorder. And finally, bass recorder. So here they've enjoyed, so we have, now we have the we have the full score as well as the split parts. And then finally, and clicking the little arrows in the corner, that just brings the music up full screen so you can look at it. And we could play those. So if I click on the first tune and click play, we'll get here's the full score. If I go to the next one, it'll be the soprano recorder solo. And all that's left to do now is the music -1 versions. So I'm going to select that first tune, which is the full version. I'm going to go to the very end, and I'm going to just paste it. And I'm going to change this to music -1 soprano recorder. And again, all I need to do is change this program for the soprano recorder from 144, which is the number for soprano recorder in the tool, to just mute. And that will, if we now play this tune, you'll hear that the soprano recorder is now muted. And I'm going to create the rest of them just by copying and pasting those and changing which instrument I mute. So here I'm going to change it to, this will be alto recorder. I'll turn the soprano recorder back on. Oops. I put in the 144 back. I'll change the alto recorder now to mute. And we'll go down and we'll do the next one. And this will be for tenor. And we'll turn the soprano recorder back on, and we'll turn the tenor recorder off. And finally, the last one will be bass, and all we'll do is change the bass recorder to mute. We don't need the transpose on the muted voice. And I'm going to save it at this point. Supposedly we have everything. Okay, so if we bring up the player, I'm going to change the first one again to master score, just because that's what it'll say on the website dropdown. And if we go into the player, click play, the first one is master score, next one is going to be soprano recorder solo, alto recorder solo, tenor recorder solo, bass recorder, music -1 soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. So if I play this last one, we won't have the bass part. So now we have all of the arrangements in the ABC file. I'm going to just save it again. Again, you can save as many times as you want. What you just end up with is a whole bunch of ABC files with sequential numbers on the drive. You never lose anything, and you never overwrite anything you've done already. Okay, at this point, we're going to generate the website. So I just click Export Website, Full Featured Website, and we'll just change the name of this to the last one was the Bach Concerto. We'll just say Ukrainian National Anthem. And we'll say RD Tennent. And everything else I'm just going to leave alone. I'm going to use the same colors as before. Again, for those just joining, the information on all of this is in the user guide. If you click a little question mark, it'll explain all of the settings and which each of those controls mean. But it's fairly straightforward in terms of here's the title, here's the subtitle, here's a footer, here's the color for the text, that sort of thing. And I'm going to click OK. And in this case, it's just going to be Ukraine. And if I open that website, again, it's just a single file. We can say, here's the master score. We can play it. We could go to the solo part. So here's the bass part. Or I could go to the music -1 version. So let's say the music -1 without the bass recorder. And then you could play along the bass recorder part. And we're done. We could take that HTML file, we could stick it up on a website, or you could just leave it on your own computer and play with it anytime you want. They're very small files too, because they, I think that whole file, let's see, how big is it? 17K. It's a tiny little thing. You stick it as an email attachment and send it to someone. They can play it. The websites, compared to the PDF files that my tool generates, the PDFs are quite large because they're actually high-resolution images of the notation. But the websites are not. The websites are just the ABC encoded. They're essentially, if you ever use the share link functionality, they're just the share links for the tunes in a special, organized in a way that the website then presents them below. The other thing too is if you're on a smaller screen, sometimes, or on a phone, there is an option in the website. There's this full screen button in the corner. If you click that, it'll take away the whole surrounding of the website interface, and it just basically puts the music just in the screen. If you're on a desktop system, these little arrows on the sides of the player change the kind of the aspect ratio of the music if you want to get a larger view. And as I mentioned before, you can always use the tune trainer to practice these tunes. If, for example, if you wanted to practice that at half speed, you could do that by using the tune trainer. And anytime you're in the player, the tune trainer is available. That's playing it at half speed. So that is that's kind of the essence of it. They're recently, I like this particular way of presenting them because it's I like it with the drop down and that sort of thing. I just want to show you one other option. But before I do that, let's do something kind of goofy here. And I probably should have rehearsed this, but we'll see what happens. So currently this appears to be in the key of B flat. But let's say instead I'm playing a tin whistle in the key of D, and I want to be able to practice it, and I know tin whistle, B flat's not a comfortable key for tin whistle. So one of the things in the tool is you can very easily transpose everything. So I'm going to actually just select I'm going to do a Command A to select all the text, and I'm going to say transpose up, and you'll see that the music transposes. So now it's in C, now it's in D. Now it's in the key of D. All of the tunes have been transposed now from B flat into the key of D. And if I want to, I can then export the website, and I'll say key of D. And if we open that, be exactly the same, except now we've got the tunes in the key of D. So again, very flexible system, kind of a, I like to think of the ABC tools as kind of a Swiss Army knife of ABC manipulation. So these kinds of transpositions, is very, very simple to do if you want to have different versions in different keys. Another option that I added only yesterday is the ability to do a simplified website. So these websites are fairly, how can I describe it? There's a lot going on here. You've got this drop down, you've got a frame that is inside, and there are some cases where people are trying to embed my websites inside another website, and this kind of an interface is a bit busy or a bit too crowded for them, or the environment that they're using it in is not friendly to having this kind of thing going on, and they wanted something much, much simpler. So yesterday I added a new option which allows you to export a basic website. And this is an extremely simple version of it. You can see a lot of the options aren't here. And let me show you what this ends up generating. It's just much simpler. And like I said, there are some cases where this is more appropriate. And this is just simply a list of the tunes that are in the were in the tune book. And you can click on any of these to just bring them up in a new tab. So that's another option. Is just this is a very lightweight way of getting the website generated. But it's exact same tunes. It's just not with the pretty surrounding. And this is nice for mobile. The particular person I did this for is using, I think, Google Sites for their music teaching, and they want to be able to embed my website inside their website, so they needed something that was just like drop dead simple and terse, not with all of the other stuff. So, so this is just an alternative. Again, the way you get there is when you do the website export, you just pick export basic tune list website, and it will generate that simpler form. So those are the two options for the website generation. You could, again, historically, the tool's primarily been used for PDF generation. So one could certainly generate a PDF of this. I'm not going to put a title page or anything on it for right now. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll just say, we'll say Ukrainian. Why not? That's fine. So I'm not going to go through all the PDF stuff. Again, if you're interested, all of this is in the user guide. We'll go ahead and generate this PDF file of the tune book. And the tool will build this whole PDF for you with the title page, table of contents. Then, so here's the title page. Let me zoom out so they look more like pages. So this is just a PDF file. We have table of contents. You can click on any of the items in the table of contents. So if I click on bass recorder, it takes you right to that page. These arrows take you back to the table of contents, and these arrows take you to the index, and the index is sorted alphabetically. So it's got a pretty flexible PDF builder, and that's all hyperlinked. The other thing about the PDF builder is that when you click the title of a tune in the PDF, it will actually open that tune in the player. So the PDFs are interactive. They link back to the tunes. So if we have the PDF file, we could click on Soprano Recorder, click on the title there, and it would just open it in the player. So it works kind of like the websites. But the PDF stuff precedes. The PDF stuff was in there from 2 years ago when I started on the product. I started with the PDF generation, and the website stuff is fairly recent, just in the last month or so. So just another option for getting stuff out. But again, once you have the raw, like once you've gone through that process of getting all the parts, doing the part separation, doing the music -1 versions of it, and you save that ABC file, then you have a lot of options for how to, you can either, like I say, you can either generate a website, you can generate a simplified website, or you can export a PDF. If you wanted to, you could even export the MP3 files for each of these. So, for example, there is an option under the More tools, which is the export all tunes, and there's an option export as MP3 audio. And what this will do is it will go through each of the tunes, and it will actually get the audio for the tune, and it will save it out as an MP3 file. And we'll just kind of let it go through the process.
On that same page, Michael, that export ABC, will that export each individual ABC?
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's
not one big one. You have like
yeah. That's a fairly recent thing I added only a couple weeks ago. I forget. Did you request that? I forget, somebody requested that.
I might have. I don't remember.
Yeah, so it's just kind of going through, cranking through. What's nice is it actually puts the reverb, like if you have any reverb settings, that's one of the things that distinguishes my tool on the web from a lot of others, is that I have a very robust ability to do reverb in different room sizes and all that, which particularly for the orchestral music is really, really nice. And so what we have now is we have all of those files out as MP3 files. So I'll just kind of go find the, we'll just play like the MP3 file for the master score. So you could take those MP3 files, put them on your phone, mail them to your friends, whatever you want to do with them. Yeah, there's a lot of options on the export all. There's an export all tunes as ABC. If we do that, it walks through, and now we have we have for each of the if we now have in the downloads here, you'll see we have each of these as a separate ABC. So like I could open up just the bass recorder as an ABC. So it will split them out and give you individual ABC files, which can be really nice if you're working with, not so much in this scenario, but if you're working with a collection of tunes somebody gives you, and you don't, it's got 100 tunes and you want the individual tunes as files, the tool will take care of doing that for you. Let's go ahead and open up the Bach concerto again. So, yeah, and that sort of is everything on how I create those arrangements. And you can see it's a pretty I mean, again, it's a technical process, but it's not, there's nothing, I didn't have to program anything. I just had to know how to use, like, I had to know to go get a PDF file, and I'll put the links to that collection of when I actually publish the video on YouTube. In the description I'll put links to the site that had all of the classical arrangements that you can download, and I'll put links to PlayScore 2. Again, PlayScore 2 runs on iPhone, iPad, as well as Android devices, and if you have a modern Mac, you can run the iPad version on your Mac, and that's what I do. And when you're on the website, this is kind of nice, is when you're actually on the website. So let's open up, let's go ahead and open up the, go back to the Bach Concerto website here. So here we are on the website. The other thing about the websites, these style websites, is they remember the last time you used them. So you notice that it came up and it was right at the alto recorder. And that's because the last time I used the site, I was looking at the alto recorder, and it will go right back to that same score. But the thing to know about the websites, and this is nice for other people, is that this is, under the hood, of course, you don't have to know that this is ABC. We haven't seen, once producing it, you have to understand ABC, but using it, it's just a website. It's just kind of magical. But if you do know something about ABC, and you do know that something about my tools, you can close, once you're in the website, you can close this, and you can close this. Now you're in the tool, which means you have the full functionality of the tool at your disposal. If someone wanted to, I don't want to play it in D minor, I want to play it in E minor. Now they have it in E minor. That sort of thing. So you have the full capabilities of the tool available to you. For example, if I go into the alto recorder view and I close this, and I wanted to see this using actual fingerings for the alto recorder, I'm going to set something up here to tell my tool that it understands recorders. Normally it has, but you can normally change the tablature here by just clicking these buttons, and it'll give you different kinds of instrument tablature. But and by default it'd be whistle. But there's a way to change the whistle to be a recorder tab in the settings here. Show recorder tab instead of whistle tab, and recorder tab is for alto. And if I do that, what you can see now is that we have the actual fingering for the alto recorder. right? So someone who's, an alter recorder player, maybe they're new. Again, this is probably not a piece that a brand new alter recorder player will play, but it's quite easy for them to create this. And then, again, because it's just the tool, they could save it, and they have just the alter recorder part with the fingerings. They could then export a PDF of the alter recorder part with the fingerings in it. So this will bring up that PDF in a second here, and we'll see it has the, so here's the actual PDF with the fingerings built into it. Again, because the underlying the website is just the tool, you have the full functionality of the tool available to you. Now, that being said, there may be cases where you don't want people messing with it. Let's say you're making a website, you're a teacher, and you don't want your students to get into this view of it. There is a way, let's see here. When you do the export website, I'm going to do the export full featured one. There is an option that says here, disable access to editor. And if you click that, and let's see, we're back to the concerto here, so let's see concerto. If you click that disable access to editor and generate the website, and now if we open this one, what you'll see is that it looks exactly the same from a player standpoint, but if we close this, that arrow in the corner is missing. It's turned off. That would be the way that you would normally close this view and get into the editor. And so from this point, they're like, they don't even know there's an editor there. It's not available to them. So there is an option when you're generating the website to disable access to the editor from the website. And it's just there as an option. Same thing for this full screen button. In the corner here, you have an option when you're generating the website as to whether or not you want the full screen button there, or you want that help button that's in the other corner. So for example, if you looked at that website, you would see over here, you can put a button there and you can tell it what link, for example, if you're a teacher, you have all your lessons on your website, you can, when you set up the website export here, you can say add this help icon in the left corner, and then you can give it a URL to go to when they click it. So in this case, I have my websites go to the common questions section of my Toonbook site. So when you click on that it goes to the questions, so that it's like, well, how do I create a PDF of this or whatever. But for example, if I wanted it to go to CNN.com instead, I click that, it'll go to CNN, right? So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of where things go and whether or not you want a button there or here. Again, all of this is detailed in the user guide. So without getting too far in the weeds, I just wanted to show you there's a lot of flexibility in it, and all of it is explained in excruciating detail in this section here. And again, none of it is very technical, but and there are examples here that you can look at and that sort of thing. So I always encourage people to take a look at the user guide. And if it's still unclear how to do something, usually there's a video. And if that's still unclear, just send me a question on Facebook Messenger or email, and I'm always happy to either answer it, or if you have a particular piece of ABC that isn't behaving the way you want, or you want to get a certain effect, or something doesn't make sense, generally, if you send me ABC, I can add what you need, or I can explain what you need to do in order to make it work correctly. So more than happy to do that.